Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Haveksha Gunasekar, and here are your headlines for tonight.
Opposition leader reveals that Online Safety Act does not contain 9 amendments given by court. Electricity bills in Sri Lanka highest in South Asia. President to grace 7th Indian Ocean Conference in Perth, Australia. Jagath Panara fills vacant Putlam district seat previously occupied by late Sanat Nishanta. Pakistan election 2024. Vote marred by violence. Mobile blackout.
On to your top story tonight. In a significant development today, the opposition leader raised concerns over the Online Safety Act, pointing out that 9 clauses are not in line with the determination given by the Supreme Court. Now, despite these concerns, Justice Minister Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa maintained a firm stance, stating that no part of the past act can be altered.
ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය විසින් ලබා දෙනු තීරණ වලට අනුකූල නොවන ආකාරයට වගන්ති ගණනාවක් නීති කෙටුම්පතට ඇතුළත් කරලා තිබෙනවා. අන්තර්ජාල ප්‍රවේශ
Several clauses within the draft law deviate from the precedent set by the Supreme Court. The courts have emphasized the necessity of a magistrate's order following a trial to revoke the privileges of an internet access service provider or an intermediary. However, the current act grants the authority to issue conditional orders against these entities without the requisite magisterial hearing. Despite the court's observations, this bill has been passed disregarding judicial guidance. Moreover, the Supreme Court, as documented on pages 46 and 47, has recommended further amendments to the 13th section concerning contempt of court. Regrettably, these proposed amendments have not been incorporated. Similarly, the imperative to foster a secure online environment for internet users, enabling them to navigate the web without fear of insulting religious sentiments, necessitates the removal of Section 16. However, no action has been taken to effectuate such removal. In addition, the Supreme Court has stated the necessity for the removal of Section 19, as it imposed unnecessary restrictions on internet users against charges of committing offences against the government. The Supreme Court has made it clear that both Sections 16 and 19 must be removed. In endorsing this bill, it must be acknowledged that mistakes have been made by both you and the governing party responsible for the amendments. The court's directive to revise the illustration of the court decision in Article 61 has been overlooked, leaving the 21st article unaltered. This failure to act has shattered the trust placed in you. I urge you to call for an immediate meeting with party leaders to address these issues. The trust placed in you is no more. We have noticed that your habitual disregard for input and your unwavering alignment with the government's agenda. You cannot operate like that. You did not even award a final vote.
මේ ආණ්ඩු පාර්ශ්වයත් එක්ක වෙලා. ඒ පැත්ත දිහා බලාගෙන. එහෙම කරන්න බෑනේ. ඔබතුමා අපිට අවසාන වෝට් එකක් දුන්නේ නැහැ.
වෝට් එකක් දෙන්න නම් දෙපැත්තම එකඟ වෙන්න ඕනේ වෙලාවේ.
නෑ. ඔබතුමා අවස්ථා ගණනාවකදී වෝට් එක දුන්නේ නැහැ.
Your refusal to grant votes on numerous occasions cannot be overlooked. It must be stated that this parliament has disregarded court orders constituting a violation of the constitution, the highest law of the land. Your compliance in implementing these amendments renders you complicit as well.
ඒ සංශෝධන ක්‍රියාත්මක කරපු
සංශෝධන කිසි දෙයකට මගේ කිසිම සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ.
නෑ.
මම කරේ
එහෙම සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ කියන්නේ බෑ. ඔබතුමා තමයි මූලාසන හිටියේ. ඔබතුමාගේ වගකීම.
මේකට කිසිම සම්බන්ධයක් නැති කෙනෙක් එක්ක කොහොමද ඔබතුමා තර්ක කරන්නේ මේක කරන්නේ?
අපිට පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීමක් දෙන්න. අපිට පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීමක් ඕන. මේක ගැන කතා කරන්න.
මේ පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීම අපි රැස් වෙනවනේ එතකොට කතා කරන්න.
නෑ එහෙම නෙමෙයි. මේකට විශේෂ රැස්වීමක් ඕන. මේක බරපතල ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ඔබතුමා මූලාසනේ ඉන්නකොට රටේ උත්තරීතර නීති ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව උල්ලංඝනය වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ
In this parliament, no bill has been passed in contravention of a Supreme Court order or beyond its intended scope. You can call for not 1 but 100 meetings with the party leaders. Despite the assertion that not a single letter of this bill can be altered, we remain open to necessary amendments. It's important to clarify that these measures were not introduced to safeguard the government or the president. You acknowledge the existence of shortcomings, and that's acceptable. You agreed to it. Even the Minister of Justice himself admitted that the online safety bill under your leadership in this chamber was carried out with shortcomings.
අඩුපාඩුකම් සහිතයි කියලා අධිකරණ නැවතුමාම කියනවා.
පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරුන් විදියට
Our privileges as members of parliament were violated on the 24th with no opportunity afforded to us in the third reading vote.
සීමටවත් අවස්ථාව දුන්නේ නැහැ.
මම පෙන්නලා දුන්නා මේක අඩුපාඩු.
I have pointed out the presence of shortcomings in this matter. The constitution of the country also has its own shortcomings as evidenced by its 21 amendments. Any assertion that the decision made in this parliament lacks validity should lead one to question their place in this house.
The Samagi Lawyers Association is preparing to present a series of reform proposals, including the abolishment of the executive presidency.
Speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, the Samagi Lawyers Association said that the proposed series of reforms will be unveiled at a legal conference that will be held on Sunday.
The first proposal is to abolish the executive presidency and to allow for the president to be appointed through parliament, and his duty should be to work in the future with the parliament. We know that there have been many complaints lodged at the Bribery Commission. The investigations into these complaints need to be concluded within 3 months. If that cannot be done, facts should be reported to the closest magistrate, and a further 3-month extension should be sought. However, if indictments are being filed, the indictments have to be filed within 1 year from the date of the complaint being lodged. We see that there are many allegations of violation of fundamental rights of the people. After a determination regarding these violations are reached, and if there is any damage caused to the state, the full sum of that money should be charged from them. We propose that if required, these laws should be amended even to apply retrospectively, and the money should be recovered from such individuals. There are institutions tasked with bringing in foreign investment. About 15 investment projects are being cancelled every month as the projects cannot be carried forward. Why can't these projects be carried forward? In many instances, the reason is that many of these officials are demanding for bribes. If we do not fix these procedures, our country will not have a future.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe left the island this morning to attend the 7th Indian Ocean Conference in Perth, Australia, upon an invitation extended from the Indian Foundation and the Government of Australia.
President Wickremesinghe is scheduled to deliver the keynote address at the 7th Indian Ocean Conference in Perth, Australia from February 9th to 10th. The conference is slated as a vital forum for dialogue and cooperation within the Indian Ocean region. The event, themed towards a stable and sustainable Indian Ocean, aims to foster cooperation among 40 participating nations. President Wickremesinghe's participation reflects Sri Lanka's proactive stance towards regional stability and development. The Indian Ocean Conference commenced back in 2016.
A debate arose in Parliament today regarding the statement made by the President while opening the new Parliament session a day earlier.
A recent protest was attacked. Thereafter, our support is also sought. Have you no shame to ask for our support after attacking us? A tear gas can was fired at Sajid Premadasa with the intention to cause bodily harm. I witnessed it myself. The divisions amongst yourselves were revealed. When they staged a walkout, some remained here. I wonder how wise it was to send such a message to the country. In order to cover up the economic crisis, the country is pushed into a political crisis. The policy statement quotes the crisis in Greece. In fact, Greece faced a crisis by trying to do what he is trying to achieve today, following the collapse of the Greek economy. The world once again started to discuss IMF's policies. It was noted that the lands owned by the Plantations Corporation and Janavasam will be given to the private sector. The decisions made by this government over state assets will have to be rectified by the next government. He spoke about the SLPP. We were in opposing camps. We reprimanded each other. He said that we agreed to work with him by casting aside the political policies, and on the other hand he said that the SJB is with him and it comprises of those who worked in politics alongside him, as well as those introduced to politics by him. He said it to the opposition leader without naming him. It means that he introduced Sajid Premadasa to politics. He questioned why the SJB cannot join in the program to build the nation if the SLPP can. So we ask the opposition leader, why can't you do it?
විපක්ෂ නායකතුමාගේ ඇයි බැරි?
කරුණා කරලා ඡන්දය තියලා මේක ඉවර කරන්න. මේ රටේ ජනතාව නිදහස්.
Please call for the elections and allow the people to elect their representatives. Pave the way for a proper program to be implemented.
කොට හැකියාව තියෙන මිනිසුන්ට අවස්ථාව අරගෙන මේ රට හදන්න අවස්ථාව උදා වෙනවා. මාසයකට බිලියන 9.5ක් වැඩියෙන්
9.5 billion rupees was collected in taxes monthly to reach the 115 billion in 1 year. The president promised the ruling party that a tax amendment will be introduced in March. His speech was printed by the president's office. However, the copies were not distributed in parliament. Why? The data given by the finance ministry was inaccurate. There was a difference of 1,000 billion rupees. Therefore, the president must think again on whether to retain the finance secretary, who cannot provide accurate information.
ඊයේ කිව්වා ගොවි පවුල් ලක්ෂ 20කට සින්නක් කර ඔප්පු දෙනවා. එක පවුලෙන් ඡන්ද 4ක් කියලා දුන්න ලක්ෂ 80යි.
2 million farmer families were given title deeds. If one family has 4 members, that amounts to 8 million votes. The farmers will happily exercise their vote. However, that program marks the beginning of the farmers' end. DSNA Nayaka launched the agriculture settlement movements. CP Silva led it. Gamini Disanayaka launched the Swarnabhumi program. DM Jairatna launched the Jayabhumi program. Why didn't any one of them revoke those permits? The farmer is not a person who earns a monthly wage. His revenue comes in several times a year. During the harvest season, he spends the rest of the year in debt. The revenue he earns goes to settle the debt. He is compelled to pawn the harvest. When he pawns the land, it will be taken over and then it will be given to other traders. Therefore, the farmer becomes a laborer. That will result in a major social issue. Title deeds were never awarded by far-sighted leaders as they knew it would lead to an issue.
දැවැන්ත සමාජ ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙනවා කියන දේ දූරදර්ශී නායකයන් දැක්ක නිසා තමයි කවදාකවත් ඔප්පු නොදුන්නේ.
මම ගරුයා මන්ත්‍රීතුමාට සඳහන් කරන්න කැමති ඉඩම් වල අයිතිය දැන්ට තියෙන්නේ බලපත්‍ර විදියට තමයි බොහෝ.
The ownership of most lands are given as permits. Some have Jayabhumi, Swarnabhumi and Mahaveli Urumaya. The sale of lands has not ended. It continues. The lawyers have come up with means for that. If a person is selling it or mortgaging it, it can be sold for a higher price.
තව දෙයක් වෙනවා කවුරු හරි විකුණනවා නම් හරි කස් තියනවා නම් හරි වැඩි මිලකට ඒක දෙන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා.
Anura Kumara Disanayaka, the leader of Sri Lanka's Jathika Jana, continued his tour of India with a visit to the iHub Institute, an education institution affiliated with the Gujarat State Government's Education Department in Ahmedabad.
Gujarat Student Startup and Innovation Hub is envisioned to be center for all startup stakeholders to develop an end-to-end innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem in the state of Gujarat by creating pathways from mind to market. The delegation led by the leader of the Jathika Jana Anura Kumara Disanayaka also visited an industrial zone in Ahmedabad as well as an agricultural zone. Thereafter, they visited Tata Motors and a solar power plant located in Ahmedabad. Yesterday, the Jathika Jana delegation visited the Amul Dairy Company in Gujarat. The delegation, led by Anura Disanayaka, inspected the dairy production process and held talks with the CEO and management of the firm. The delegation had also raised their concerns with regard to the future Amul investments in Sri Lanka. The group will reach Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala later tonight.
Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, MP for the Jathika Jana argued that as a political movement that aspires to form a government, it is necessary to foster deeper cooperation within the international community.
The international community and the neighbouring countries are dealing with us with an understanding that we can bring forward a Jathika Jana government. Therefore, we will not panic over the conduct of the opposing groups. Such things do happen. As a political movement that aspires to form a government, we need to develop our international relations. So far, we were reprimanded for not having international relations. We have demonstrated that we are forming and strengthening our international relations. We believe that is now outdated. We will prove it at the elections. Our political campaign incorporates all communities as well as all political groups. That is what propelled us to reach this position. We are not in talks in forming alliances and we have not reached any such decision. We have no desire to form alliances alliances with those who were rejected by the people.
ජනතාව ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරපු පුද්ගලයන් එක්ක එහෙම ගනුදෙනු කරන්න අපිට මේ වෙලාවේ කිසිම උවමනාවක් නැහැ.
SJB's Niroshan Paduka questioned why the JVP trade unions are not vocal over the sale of public assets.
Then telecom එකේ tender තුනක් දාලා තිබ්බා.
3 tenders were put forward for SLT. One was rejected as it did not meet the qualification. What remained were Chinese and Indian companies and officials shortlisted India's Jio and China's Gorchun. The highest bid is from Ambani, and we will be forced to show affection to our neighbour. That is why Ranil Wickremesinghe sent his red elephant in a suit and tie to Delhi. SLT will be divested to 1.8 billion shares. The JVP trade unions are mum about it. Anur Kumar does not speak of it in Parliament. Lal Kanta and Samar Singh are mum about it. SLT is being sold for around USD 500 million or less. Hammantara was sold for $1,000 million.
Hammantara ikke $1 million 10යි.
The People's Movement for the Protection of Local Dairy Industries and Farms hosted a public petition signing program in Kandy in opposition to the proposed sale of local livestock and government-owned dairy farms and factories to foreign companies.
Ranil Wickremesinghe Rajapaksa, the SLPP UNP government are ready to sell a vast amount of state lands owned by the NLDB and Milko to Amul. Their representatives are inspecting those lands. The estimates took place recently and it is clear that they will be sold for a low amount.
News First with the people.
News First. Main sponsor.
Study in Australia with Edlocate. Visit us on 10th February at the Hotel Galadari. Study in Australia with Edlocate. Speak directly with university representatives including the highest ranked group of 8 universities in Australia on 10th February 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Hotel Galadari. Scholarships up to 100%. Pre-register with us by calling 077 177 0361.
A research carried out by Verite Research revealed that electricity bills in Sri Lanka are the highest in South Asia.
Sri Lanka currently has the highest electricity charges in South Asia, with households paying 2.5 to 3 times more for electricity than the average price paid by households in other South Asian countries, according to analysis that was published this week. Published on publicfinance.lk, Sri Lanka's premier economic insights platform, this analysis by Verite Research looked at what households are charged for their electricity when consuming 100, 200 or 300 units at the start of 2024. The calculation only took into account the charges of the supplier and did not include government taxes such as the Social Security Levy, which is charged additionally in Sri Lanka. The second highest household electricity charges in the region are in Pakistan, yet they are far less than in Sri Lanka. Households consuming 100 units are charged 50% more in Sri Lanka than Pakistan, and those consuming 300 units are charged 97% more in Sri Lanka. Increases in Sri Lanka's electricity charges have come in the wake of a commitment made by Sri Lanka on its International Monetary Fund program that Ceylon Electricity Board will recover its full costs from the combination of charges levied on consumers and any subsidies received from the Treasury. Sri Lankan households will continue to pay the highest prices for electricity by far in the South Asian region. As plans to restructure the CEB by dividing it into 6 separate entities gain momentum, the Electricity Users Association warns that this move could lead to increased electricity costs for the public.
What happens when the CEB is divided into 6 separate entities? LECO suspended the supply over an arrears of 18 cents. The CEB said that it did not concern them and it was a LECO matter. The same happens when the CEB is split. That will lead to the consumer becoming helpless and that could lead to a rise in tariffs as well. A power purchase agreement for the 100 megawatt ground mount solar project in Siambalandua was signed by Rividanavi Private Limited with CEB today. Rividanavi will also build the transmission line of 27.5 kilometers for the project and transfer to the CEB, and the investment is expected to be $132 million. Sri Lanka's Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Wijesekara met with the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas of India, Hardeep Singh Puri, during the second edition of the India Energy Week. The minister posted on X that the meeting focused and discussed on the ongoing energy projects with the assistance of the Indian government. Indian investments and energy policy on future developments. Among the topics discussed was LNG supply, oil pipeline connectivity, oil and gas exploration, LIOC operations, Trincomalee tank farm development and sustainable energy generation plans.
Jagath Panara was sworn in as a new parliamentary representative from the Puntland district. He took the oath of office in front of the Speaker, filling the seat left vacant by the untimely demise of State Minister Sanath Nishantha, who tragically passed away in an accident.
අභිනව මන්ත්‍රීවරයන්ගේ නිල ප්‍රතිඥාව LK ජගත් ප්‍රියංකර මැතිතුමා.
The Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna had previously secured 5 parliamentary seats from the Puntland district in the 2020 parliamentary elections. The late Sanath Nishantha had topped the preference list, followed by Priyanka Jaratna, Arundika Fernando, Chintaka Amal Mayadunne and Ashoka Priyantha. Jagath Panara, who was the next on the preference list, had received a significant 40,527 preferential votes. Born in 1979, Panara is a product of Dikwala Government School and Joseph Vaz College, Venapur. In addition, he is an alumni of the University of Kelaniya.
An announcement was made allocating 10 billion rupees for this year's presidential and general elections. Against this backdrop, the political arena is once more heating up with election fever. Today, the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna reiterated its stance on its candidate.
ජනාධිපතිවරණයකදී මූලික කාරණා කිහිපයක් වැදගත්.
There are several factors considered at the presidential election. The candidate is a key component. However, the policies of the candidate to carry the country forward are equally important. None of that is worth it in the absence of a winning election campaign. This needs to be discussed in depth. The SLPP remains within those factors.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ විදිහට අපි අන්න ඒ ප්‍රධාන කාරණා 3-4 ඇතුලේ ඉන්නවා.
The Freedom People's Congress convened a media briefing.
The president quoted the Buddha in his statement, which translates to becoming a beacon to your own self. A similar character bearing the name Kodituaku was reported several weeks ago, claiming to be the modern-day Bodhisattva. The court ruled that this person is suffering from a psychological issue and he is now in prison. Therefore, I wish to tell the president to follow another court.
ඉතින් ඒ අනුව මම ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාට කියන්නේ ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමනි කරුණා කළා අත්දීපා විහෙරත මේ ආදර්ශ පාඨය ඔබතුමාගේ ආදර්ශ පාඨය බාටපත් කරගන්න. මොකද
he blew out the lamp held by the people by delaying elections and burdening them with VAT and other taxes. As a result of the Provincial Councils Act, we have not held provincial elections for 7 years. Independent commissions are toothless. You called for everyone to unite. We call on the nation to unite to send this government packing.
සියලු දෙනාගෙන්ම රටවැසියන්ගෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා. ඔව් එකතු වෙන්න. එකතු වෙන්න ඕන මොකටද? ආණ්ඩුව ශක්තිමත් කරන්න නෙමෙයි ආණ්ඩුව ගෙදර යවන්න එකතු වෙන්න.
MP Dilan Perera, also from the Freedom People's Congress, convened a separate media briefing.
20% of the country support the government while 80% are against it. The president is dividing those who are against the government. We fell victim to it. Therefore, we realize the need to build a more broad alliance. There are those in parliament who want to become president and prime minister.
ලෝකයේ ඉතිශ්වරලා මම තමයි ජනාධිපති වෙන්න ඕනේ මම තමයි අගමැති වෙන්න ඕනේ ඉතින් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ පක්ෂ විපක්ෂ වල ඉන්නවා ඔය සිවුරු දාගත්තෝ සිවුරු හැරගත්තෝ අවලේ ඉතිශ්වරලා ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලෝ
They assume they know it all. Such an issue arose within our group as well. Therefore, we decided to form an alliance with the SJB. The necessary measures are being taken for that. It might take time for some to enact our unanimous decisions. All 13 MPs in the Freedom People's Congress reached this decision. We hope the others will follow. We will build a SJB-led alliance and its presidential candidate is Sajith Premadasa.
සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ ප්‍රමුඛ සන්ධානම ගොඩනගනවා. ඒක ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකයා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්මයා තමයි.
Study in Australia with Adlocate. Speak directly with university representatives, including the highest-ranked group of 8 universities in Australia, on 10th February, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Hotel Galadari. Scholarships up to 100%. Pre-register with us by calling 077 177 0361.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has eased borrowing limits for banks.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka announced today a relaxation of restrictions on borrowing by commercial banks, aiming to stimulate the domestic money market and accelerate a decline in interest rates. In January 2023, the CBSL imposed limits on banks' access to its overnight lending and deposit facilities to encourage them to rely more on the interbank call money market. This move aimed to revitalize the money market and reduce banks' over-dependence on the central bank. The CBSL reports that the initial restrictions achieved their intended goals, reactivating the money market and moderating competition for deposits among banks. The measures also helped align market interest rates with the central bank's monetary policy stance while maintaining financial system stability. Following a review of market developments and improved liquidity conditions, the CBSL has decided to ease the borrowing limits. Effective February 16, 2024, the restriction on access to the standing lending facility is completely removed. The limit on access to the standing deposit facility is doubled from 5 times per month to 10 times per month. The CBSL expects this relaxation to further stimulate interbank lending and borrowing, leading to a faster decline in market interest rates in line with its overall monetary policy goals.
UNICEF welcomed the long-awaited amendment to the Children and Young Persons Ordinance coming into force effective from the 1st of January 2024, which marks a significant step towards protecting the rights and welfare of all children in Sri Lanka.
The Children and Young Persons Ordinance, a legislation governing justice for children in Sri Lanka since 1939, previously only covered those up to the age of 16. The amendment now extends its protection to all children under the age of 18. Furthermore, the amendment also repeals a section of the Children and Young Persons Ordinance which permitted the use of corporal punishment on children and adolescents by parents, teachers or guardians. These amendments contribute to the alignment of Sri Lanka's laws that address children's rights with international standards, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, but also addresses the evolving needs and challenges faced by children and adolescents in the country. UNICEF representative in Sri Lanka, Christian Skoog, said, quote, "The operationalization of the amended Children and Young Persons Ordinance marks a significant milestone for child rights in Sri Lanka, ensuring a justice system that upholds the rights and dignity of every child. This noteworthy progress also underscores the importance of a comprehensive ban on corporal punishment in all settings, including homes and schools, as we strive to create safer and nurturing environments for every child in Sri Lanka." End quote. These amendments further signify a paradigm shift in the treatment of children in conflict with the law. Previously, children between ages of 16 to 18 years who committed offences were placed in adult prisons, lacking appropriate rehabilitation and care. With the amended Child and Young Persons Ordinance now in effect, such children will receive rehabilitation under the supervision of the Provincial Departments of Probation and Child Care, emphasizing a rehabilitative rather than punitive approach. The CRC, however, notes that the detention of a child should only be a last resort and for the shortest period, as evidence shows that institutionalization should hinder a child's development and reintegration, leading to a perpetuating cycles of violence and poverty.
Civil groups gathered at the Liberty roundabout to protest against suppression.
Civil groups gathering at the Liberty roundabout demanded that the government do away with suppressive legislation.
So today we're back here at Liberty Circle. It's been 2 weeks since we were attacked here, January 25th. As you can see, we are not deterred, we are not intimidated. We have a beautiful crowd of people here with us today, and we are here for one purpose and one purpose alone. We want good governance for our country. We want the end to corruption and nepotism. We want repressive laws like the Online Safety Bill and the ATA to be chucked into the dustbin where they belong. You cannot crush the voice of the common citizen.
Voting has ended in Pakistan's general elections, marred by suspension of mobile services and violence, while polling was extended in some constituencies by 2 hours. At least 9 people, including 2 children and 6 security officials, were killed in attacks by suspected armed groups across the country.
Voting got underway in Pakistan to elect the country's next government and the legislatures of the 4 provinces. These are Pakistan's 12th general elections, the country's latest attempt to deepen democratic roots. The powerful military establishment has ruled directly for more than 3 decades of the country's journey as an independent nation since 1947. As many as 128 million people are registered to cast their votes, almost half of whom are under the age of 35. More than 5,000 candidates, of whom just 313 are women, are contesting the 266 directly elected seats in the 336-member National Assembly. The Pakistan Muslim League and the PPP are considered the 2 major parties going into the vote. However, picking out candidates from Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party is more difficult after it was banned from using the cricket bat symbol under which all its candidates run. Pakistan suspended mobile calls and data services as millions head to the polls to vote in a new government. An Interior Ministry spokesman said the measure was warranted, citing recent incidents of terror in the country. The elections comes almost 2 years since the previous Prime Minister, cricketer turned politician Imran Khan, was ousted in a no-confidence vote. The country is on high alert with a heavy security presence at polling stations across the country. Border crossings with Afghanistan and Iran have been closed for both cargo and pedestrians to ensure full security during polling.
Today marked day 5 of the Jala Jana rally, a nationwide effort seeking to revitalize Sri Lanka's rich history of water management and the ancient cascade systems. The nationwide initiative is organized by the Sirasa Media Network.
Jala Jana rally. Water obtained from the Parakrama Samudra was placed on the special platform of the Jala Jana rally following traditional rituals. Furthermore, the water obtained from the Henanigala River in rural Dehiyatta Kandiya was also placed on the special platform of the Jala Jana rally. This morning, the Jala Jana rally commenced its journey from opposite the Polonnaruwa railway station, subsequent to religious observances. The district secretary of Polonnaruwa, among other state officials, were present. This evening, the Jala Jana rally reached the Minneria town. Yesterday, water was also obtained from the Giritale Vava. Thereafter, water from the Minneria Vava was also obtained. That water was placed on the special platform by farmers' associations at the Minneria town. Police officers, irrigation officers, among other state officials, were present. The Jala Jana rally will proceed to villages and towns across the country with water collected from main irrigation vavas and other water bodies. Jala Jana rally.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.